In 2025, we are seeing a meteoric rise of people flocking to driving-based gig apps. Things like DoorDash, Uber, Amazon Flex, and whatever else people can do to make extra money with their car. So to all of the new gig drivers coming into 2025, let's work together and answer the question: what's the best gig app for you to be driving in 2025? Hey everyone, it's Kian for the Rideshare Guy, pronounced Kian. And to all of my experienced drivers out there, I want you guys to leave a comment down below. What is your current go-to gig app when it comes to being a gig driver? Is it Uber, DoorDash, Amazon Flex, Instacart, something else? Let us know in the comments down below. And while you're down there, make sure you subscribe to the Rideshare Guy so you never miss a new video. So we have a couple different categories when it comes to what driving-based gigs are commonly available. So we have categories like food delivery, grocery delivery, package delivery, and also, of course, rideshare. So I'm going to give you my thoughts on the best gig app in each of these categories and what you need to know before signing up. So let's start with what's probably the most common gig app that most people are driving nowadays, which is food delivery. There's some debate as to what's actually the best and most profitable gig app for drivers, and of course there's going to be some market dependency there. But if we're looking at just in terms of the market share and what these gig apps actually have in terms of market share, there is a clear winner here, and that is DoorDash. DoorDash is easily the most popular food delivery gig app. It may actually be the most popular gig app, period, depending on where you are. And while there is a minor amount of competition in a few of the apps that I'll mention in just a moment, DoorDash is so far and away ahead that it really doesn't feel like there's competition. And with DoorDash, there is a lot of flexibility, but I wouldn't say an infinite amount of flexibility, primarily because DoorDash has a very odd way of allowing drivers to actually, drive for DoorDash. Assuming you can actually get through the sometimes agonizingly long wait list, I've been there, you still actually have to get timed scheduled slots to drive for DoorDash, because it's not guaranteed there will be enough activity in your zone or region in order for you to be actually allowed to drive for DoorDash. This has been a huge problem in a lot of major markets like mine, for example, where it is just a complete ghost town because all of the shifts have already been scheduled, or there's just way too many drivers and the supply and demand aren't matching up, or it's at its maximum capacity already. Now, something I'm going to say a lot in this video and something I want you to keep in mind is the words market dependency. There are a lot of markets where the apps that I suggest are not the highest paying or even best paying gig apps in terms of markets and market share. So you have to keep that in mind. But I would say in a majority of markets, the safest bet for food delivery, DoorDash is probably going to be the most popular option for you. Now, there is one honorable mention here, and this is going to be the only other option that I can realistically see beat DoorDash. And even then, I would say the areas where that is are far and few in between, and that is Uber Eats. Now, the nice thing about Uber Eats, at least from what I've experienced, I don't drive too much in terms of Uber Eats specifically, but as far as I'm aware, there is a lot more flexibility in terms of actually being able to go online and drive for Uber Eats, sometimes even regardless on if you should be because of the demand and supply not matching up. However, that last part there is kind of the catch in maybe sometimes you will get a really good order, but there are a couple of things you have to keep in mind. One of them is tip baiting, because as far as I'm aware, that's still a problem with Uber Eats, where people will offer a very, very large tip prematurely in order to get a rider to actually take the ride and then drop the tip afterwards. And you know, sometimes there are justifications for dropping a tip, but most of the time, this is just an excuse so people can get their food faster. And of course, because like I mentioned, so much of the market demand is with DoorDash right now, Uber Eats has taken a back seat in a lot of markets, meaning that more than likely there isn't going to be as much demand as with something like DoorDash, just because of the market share and the market dependency. And with the way the apps are currently being promoted right now, DoorDash is just so much further ahead. and Uber Eats is still playing catch up. So this would be the second option. If DoorDash isn't really working out in your area, I would give Uber Eats a try. Okay, let's talk about grocery deliveries, or more specifically, going to grocery stores, buying people's groceries for them, and dropping it off to their house. And there's really only one option that I can think of, at the very least as of right now. There is a technical other option, but as far as I'm aware, it's just like, in terms of market supply and demand, it's just unanimously one app that's dominating the game for groceries right now. And that, surprise, surprise, is Instacart. Instacart can be such a hit or miss when it comes to grocery delivery because it's just so lenient and dependent on tips most of the time. The base fares that Instacart offers can sometimes be just a complete joke, and the amount of items sometimes you have to get just to get a decent paying order or ride at all is kind of egregious. But if you're in a good enough market for it, you're able to actually sift out the orders and you enjoy shopping, Instacart may actually be a great gig app for you. It really just depends on your market and what grocery stores are around you, the supply and demand there. So I would recommend at least giving Instacart a try. Again, if you can get through the wait list and if you can get signed up properly, I would give it a try, see if there's enough supply and demand in your market, see if people are tipping well enough to actually make sense and compensate for the fact that you're going out and buying their groceries for them and dropping it off to them, which is a lot more manual labor than something usually like food delivery. But the difference in payouts can generally be a lot higher, especially because obviously with more of that manual work, there is a little bit more expectation of higher and more regular tips with something like Instacart. And something really quickly I do want to mention is that there are a couple of the food delivery apps, DoorDash, and I believe Uber Eats and Grubhub as well, do have their shopping options. So like you can like order a shopping order or a grocery order through DoorDash, Uber Eats, or Grubhub. But because all of those apps are so centered and focused on food delivery and fast food, that type of delivery first, I'm not really counting them in this category, but that's something you should keep in mind in your market. But yeah, in terms of just like a grocery specific delivery app, Instacart's the only one I can think of that actually has enough demand. I think Shipt would be next in line, but from every experience I've had from Shipt at the very least, there's been absolutely nothing. It's completely dead. The rides aren't that good. And when I get rides at all, they're usually super far away or super spread out, and it's just never worth the time and money. So I can't really recommend it, but I can recommend Instacart, or at least recommend you guys give it a try. And another thing I recommend you guys give a try is make sure you go down and hit the like button on this video if you've been enjoying the video so far. I would really appreciate it. Okay, let's talk package delivery. This is a bit of a weird niche category. And again, technically Uber somewhat has an option like this in terms of packages, but it's so oddly loose and market dependent that it's not something I can really add into this category. But you know package delivery, you probably already know which option I'm going to recommend to you. Yes, I recommend you try out Amazon Flex in your region. Now, something I will say, something I've noticed personally as an Amazon Flex driver over the last couple of years is, unfortunately, I have seen the pay actually going down in terms of hourly rates. When I started with Amazon Flex, I had a really good $22 an hour rate as the base rates for when you picked up blocks and shifts with Amazon Flex. And Amazon Flex is a completely different structure to something like DoorDash or Instacart or something, where you are given a specific assigned route, you're given a specific amount of packages, and you go and deliver all of those packages, and it's supposed to fit in whatever allotted amount of time that you selected for your block. And usually these blocks, as far as I'm aware, only go up to a maximum of about 5 hours, so you're not going to be spending 2,000 years delivering people's packages in the cold dark. And in my market of the Newcastle County District of Delaware, the rates for a lot of these blocks used to be super, super good. I could easily, at least a couple years ago, get blocks that were up to like $30 an hour sometimes. They were that good. But unfortunately, and I checked the app earlier today, I have not been seeing anywhere near as much demand for these blocks. And also, more specifically, I just haven't been seeing the same rates of pay. It looks like the base pay has gone down to something like $20 to $20.50 an hour. So it has dropped quite a bit. But there is a bit of a good sign when it comes to Amazon Flex, and that is whenever you're done with your route and all of the packages, you're done. You can go home directly after that. However, there is another catch to that, and that is you don't know what route you're getting until you go there, scan your cart, and it tells you where to go. So you are really flipping a coin, hoping that you're getting somewhere either close or somewhere that just isn't stuck in central Philadelphia trying to figure out where to park to drop off people's packages. Trust me, it's not fun. And finally, let's talk about rideshare. Obviously, rideshare is an outlier in a lot of its own ways, and there is a somewhat clear winner here, but I would say this is actually probably the most competitive category out of all of these in terms of supply and demand, market share, bonuses, and just overall pay structures. But my winner, and I'm a little bit biased on this, is Uber. Now, the reason why I say I'm a little biased is that I actually can't drive for Lyft. Lyft is currently age restricted to drivers 25 and older, and I'm 23, and I think Uber just added that restriction in as of recent, but I got grandfathered in, so I'm good with Uber, thankfully. But I have the bias towards Uber because I literally can't drive for Lyft. But I will say, from everything I've heard from other drivers around my area, Lyft is definitely the second option to Uber. And it makes a lot of sense if you look at like the market share for both Uber and Lyft. So yeah, as you could probably have guessed, Uber has more of the demand, and even if there is more supply generally in return, I would say that there's more opportunity that comes with Uber, but both Uber and Lyft have their pros and cons. For example, from what I've seen in terms of my market, Lyft tends to have better bonuses and bonus options throughout the year, whereas Uber just has a little bit more consistency to it. Even if it's not the best rides, it's consistent enough to the point where you can at least predict how your day is going to go, predict how the market's going to treat you, and you can kind of work around it. Whereas Lyft is a little bit hit or miss sometimes. But of course, this is something I'll only have more insight on when I'm actually able to start driving for Lyft. So, you know, I'll keep you updated in the coming years for that. And if you want more of a direct comparison for Uber and Lyft, I highly recommend watching Chris's video up there, where he talks about if driving for Uber and Lyft, or just driving for rideshare in general, is worth it in 2025. It's a great video. I highly recommend you guys go check it out for his opinion. So with all of this in mind, what is the verdict? What is the best gig app that you should be driving in 2025? Well, I can't answer that for you. I mean, I would love to give you a straightforward answer, but it's just so market dependent. And I know I've said that probably throughout the entire video. I told you I was going to be fair, earlier in this video, that was going to be a common theme, but it really just is. It's something you have to experiment with. It's something you have to try with different things and different schedules, and just overall what's going to work best for you. For some of you, you're going to absolutely hate the prospect of having someone else in your car, so you're going to want to do things more like food or package delivery, or maybe even grocery delivery if you're willing to go out and grab groceries for people. But maybe that's a little bit too much physical labor for you, so something like Uber would actually make more sense. It's really all up to what you're comfortable with and what the market can actually supply and demand for you. But in terms of my recommendations, you now have a good idea as to what I personally recommend throughout all of these gig apps, and all of them are going to have their perks, all of them are going to have their drawbacks. That's just the way of the gig app world. And remember, at the end of the day, nothing is concrete. All of these apps have you as an independent contractor, and things change very sporadically. So always keep in the loop. And again, make sure you subscribe to the Rideshare Guy, and you can get updates on all types of gig apps, specifically rideshare-based gig apps, as time passes and as these apps update over time. But that's gonna be the video for today, guys. I hope it helped you out if you are a new gig app driver or getting into the gig economy yourself, to help you figure out what's gonna work best for you. And again, leave your comments down below of what gig app is your current favorite right now. And of course, make sure you guys are subscribed to the Rideshare Guy YouTube channel so you never miss a new video, and more specifically, a new video from me. But with that all said and done, that's all from me, guys. Thank you so much for watching, and stay cool.